Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be looking at Blumhouse's sequel to the 1996 movie The Craft Legacy, which was just released here in 2020. This movie stars Kaylee Spaney, David Duchovny from the X-Files fame, and is directed by Zoe Lister-Jones. Now, as you all know, Blumhouse has been a real hit or miss lately. A little bit more on the miss side, I'd say, the last few years. They've just been creating a lot of generic horror movies nowadays when it just seems like when they came out they were making these lower budget horror movies at a high quality, and now it doesn't seem to be the case. But before we get into any of that, let's start off with the plot of this movie. Now the plot is basically pretty close to the same as the first movie for the most part, about a new girl arriving at a new school, and she befriends three outcasts at the school. They form a coven and start performing witchcraft. Now this is supposed to be a sequel. There is literally one scene at the very end that kind of ties it in as a sequel. Other than that, I would give this is pretty much a soft remake, where the first half of the film is very similar and then it takes a new route on the second half. And the reason why I say soft remake and not like a complete remake is because, like I said, the second half of this movie really takes a wild turn, and it's not my cup of tea, I'll tell you that much. You still get some of the same iconic scenes as the first one, like with the girls like levitating each other, or and how they need all four of them together to be the strongest that they can be and to use their magic. With the north, south, east, west, all that crap. They're the four elements. That's all incorporated back into this story as well. So getting into the characters, Lily, the main girl, is by far the most likable of this whole movie and the most memorable. She's not as good as Sarah in the first movie, but she's the best we get in this film, which is just like above average. I don't mind her. And she moves into a new house with her mom and her new boyfriend. And that's the guy who plays on the X-Files. Also, there's a boy in school that she puts a spell on, her and her friends, and I found he was a pretty good actor too, and him and her had quite the chemistry on screen. Even though there was a few choices they made with his character I wasn't too fond of, but the way it played out was done very well. Now, it's the three outcasts at the school. They're nothing like the original. They're so bland, and they're like wooden characters. I'm telling you, they have zero personalities. They're all dressed in like normal clothes, bright colors, and they don't have the goth look. You're missing that style that the first movie had. They're just very forgettable. I can't even remember any of their names. That's how forgettable they are in this film, and that's a major loss, because the first movie, that was the best part about it, was the redeeming characters. They're just all very bland and completely one-dimensional. And talking about the gothic look of the girls, like this whole movie has like a gloss to it, like it just seems bright, I don't know. And it really changes the mood that what you should have with witches and that, I don't know. It just doesn't suit well for me. I have to say though, there's one scene in this film that actually was pretty creepy, and I found there was no creepy scenes in the first film. It wasn't going really for that, but this one actually had one moment with a pretty good atmosphere in that. It's when the main girl's in her bedroom, and there's someone, she wakes up and it's as if someone's standing in her corner of her room, and I thought they did a really good job of that one little scene. I'm like, if this movie would have had more scenes like this and building the tension in that, it really would have had something. Now, story wise, everything feels pretty rushed, even though it's done at a good runtime at an hour and a half. We just skip over certain plot beats, it feels like, anyway. Like the first movie got right into it too, but it didn't feel like it was rushed. It was at a good pace. This one, I don't know. There's the first half of the film just seems like it almost skips over certain things. Not only are the other characters of the coven completely boring and lack any style or personality, but the whole group dynamic is off too. When the four girls get together, it just don't feel right. They just don't seem to connect like they did in the first film. I know I keep going back to that first film, but damn, if you're gonna make a sequel, people are gonna compare. I just feel like the whole group of girls just took a whole back seat in the story, and you don't even get to see much of them. And while I was kind of pleased that the story in the second half of this movie does take a different route than the first movie, so you're not getting a a direct copy of the first film, because no one wants to see that either. But the route that they did chose, the direction that they went in, was pretty terrible in my opinion, and it pretty much ruined any joy that I got previously in the film. We also get a very lackluster final act. Like, after I seen it, I was like, that's it? That's all we're getting to this? It really just feels pathetic the way that they wrapped it up. And again, it just looks all glossed over for like a final battle type thing. It's just done very poorly. And then they completely finish off the movie with this little reveal to tie in the first movie, and I found it was very cheap. I kind of guessed that throughout the movie. It was one of my two guesses of how this was connected to the original, so it wasn't that clever if I could just come up with it watching, not even arriving at the end and coming up with that on my own throughout the movie. So I don't think that was the best reveal. So in the end, this movie kind of felt like a big waste of time. It repeats a lot of the same beats as the first movie for the first half, and then the second half goes on a whole another stupid adventure that I didn't like at all. I didn't care for most of the characters in this film, which is a pity because they were the main focus of the first movie, the most redeeming quality. This film lacks style, and it throws in ridiculous subplots by the third act, and it wraps everything up with a pretty lackluster and pathetic finale. There was little like woke messages placed throughout this film, and I think that they were done way better and managed a lot better than Black Christmas 2019, which is really setting your bar low. It still got in the way of the story and of any enjoyment I would have had with this movie. The first 2/3 of this movie was just okay. I'd say just passable. But after you throw in that conclusion, this really drops down and makes my rating go down to a 4 out of 10. That's what I'm giving this. It's just a bad movie. Well, that's it for this review. Let me know down below if you enjoyed this movie. Do you actually like it better than the first, or do you find it just a complete waste of time after everything they went over in the final act, like I did? I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.